Unité 2, Leçon 3-4, page 84. Reflexive verbs. This should be a review of reflexive verbs that we learned, but if it's not, then this is a good explanation of it. Reflexive verbs are used to describe an action performed by the subject on him or herself, or itself. They are conjugated with the with the reflexive pronoun me, te, se, nu, and vous. Now, even though these pronouns look like the pronouns that we use for direct and indirect object pronouns, there is a variation. The il and el pronoun for reflexive is se, and this is also the il plural, el plural form. So myself, yourself, him, her, themself, ourselves, and yourself, formal or plural, which represents the same person as the subject. So je, me goes together, tu, te goes together, il se, elle se, elle se, nous, nous, you must say them both together, nous, nous, or vous, vous. If an affirmative or negative or interrogative sentence, the reflexive precedes the conjugated verb. Okay? So here you have David, and then here you have your reflexive pronoun, and then you have your reflexive verb. Okay? Now, in this case, this is a question, so if you do inversion, you just hyphenate with the subject. Okay? And here, this is a regular type of sentence, il se fâche, so you have subject, reflexive pronoun goes right in front of the verb. Okay, let's go to the next part here. If in a sentence you're using an infinitive, which is the er, ir, or re form of the verb, the reflexive pronoun comes immediately before the infinitive. So let's say that Joe is going to get along with his boss. So Joe va bien s'entendre. He's going to get along. So this is verb plus infinitive. So Joel is a guy, so we use S apostrophe because of that. If it said I get along, I'm going to say je vais bien m'entendre avec mon chef. Alright, now you have seen these before, although you may not have known that they were reflexive commands. Usually in sit down and stand up, those are reflexive verbs. Levez-vous and asseyez-vous are reflexive commands. Here's some more reflexive commands. Se coucher is to go to bed. So if you tell a little kid to go to bed, couche-toi. If you suggest that it's late and everybody should go to bed, couchons-nous, let's go to bed. And if you tell a group of kids at once go to bed, you could say couchez-vous. But if it is negative, then the order changes. All right, no more hyphenation, and the pronoun goes back to the front again. But remember, when you do commands with ER verbs, we drop the S for the to form, and the rest of them stays new form, vous form stays regular. Okay, passé composé. Now, passé composé, if you're doing a reflexive verb, for example, if we say Suzanne se repose, and we do a passé composé, the helping word is être. Reflexive verbs never have any other helping word. It's always être. So even though they're not going to a place, or there may not necessarily be verbs of motion, they're still considered to be Van der Tram verbs or être verbs. So you just put the helping word there, okay? And then you use your past participle, and they're formed the same way. Right? But what you have to remember is when you're doing commands with passé composé with être, you have to make this agree with the subject. So Suzanne s'est reposée à la porte d'embarquement. She rested at departure gate. However, when the past participle is followed by a noun, there is no agreement between the past participle and the subject. In other words, and you see this mostly with, for example, laver les cheveux or brosser les dents. Okay? So I always tell students if there's a body part there, you don't make agreement. But some reflexive, a few, don't use body parts. So here it says, Denise s'est rappelé ses vacances. Denise remembered her vacation. So here there's a noun here. So the rule is if there is a noun, this is a direct object here, then there is no agreement between these two. okay? If it just said Denise remembered, period, then it would agree, okay? Note that in affirmative, negative, and interrogative sentence in the passé composé, the reflexive pronoun comes directly before the form of être. All right, so here is your inversion. All right, so you always do inversion with the subject, and then your reflexive always goes right in front of the verb. No matter what, the reflexive subject goes right there. And then here you have a passé composé sentence. Je me suis lavé les mains. Okay? All right, now let's see if we can try and do a couple of these. All right, tell what you are doing to prepare for the return to school. Follow the model. So the model says, tu te lèves tôt. So here I'm supposed to change this to the je form and say, I hurry up. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say, will. Okay, so I'm going to write out the example now. So I want to say je, and then ce changes to me because me goes with je in the pronouns. And then I'm going to say dépêche. Je me dépêche. And then I take off the R. I'm conjugating the verb for je. Okay, je me dépêche. Now, the directions didn't say to do this, but I'm going to show you. If I wanted to change this to the passé composé, I would be writing je me suis, because it's être in passé composé, and then I write dépêche, and dépêcher is an ER verb, so when you do passé composé regular, you just take off the ER and then put an accent aigu, and I have je me suis dépêché. Now there is no noun after dépêché, so I'm going to make it agree because I'm a girl, so I'm going to put that on there, and I'm going to say I hurried up, okay? So that's how you do those, all right? Let's do the next one. Okay? Now, what if I said, we have Elise is a girl, Elise, and we have Xavier de Nouvelle Jupe. Okay? So Elise gets dressed in a new skirt. But there is a de here, so it's not a direct object here. So I would make agreement in passé composé if I did this. Now, let's do present tense first. So Elise, so I'm going to write Elise, and then I'm going to write s'habille. So s goes with il or l, and habille starts with a vowel sound. The H is silent. So I'm going to write S apostrophe, and I take off the ER and put an E on the end in present tense. And then the rest of the sentence stays the same. D'une nouvelle jupe. Okay? Now, if I did this in passé composé, and I'm going to shorten this up a little bit for typing reasons, I'm going to say L, and I would use S apostrophe again, but this time I would use my helping word être, say, and then I would have habiller, and I would make this agree because even though a skirt is a noun, it is separated from the verb by a preposition, so it's not a direct object. Okay? So in fact, this would be a pronoun on, and that's not a direct object. So elle s'est habillée, and then I would put d'une nouvelle jupe. Okay, so you are to finish the exercise here, and I would like you to write both present tense and passé composé for practice.